All right, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. We've had so much news that we're going to be covering tonight or this evening. It is absolutely amazing. This is an election season like I've certainly not witnessed before. I brought on a guest with me. I'm sure you guys are familiar with him. His name is Eric Lindrum. He's a news columnist at AM Greatness or Am Greatness. So, Eric, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me on, Carl. It's always a pleasure to be here.
All right, so we're gonna go through the gamut. I mean, this week, this past weekend or last weekend we've seen just about everything from the RFK Jr. dropping out, Tulsi Gabbard endorsing former President Trump. We've seen the media just double down on helping out Kamala Harris more. More Tim Walz lies that have been exposed. Donald Trump's support amongst blacks has seemingly not decreased whatsoever with Kamala Harris jumping into the race and so much more. So anyway, let's get right into this. Actually, you wrote a couple of columns that I'd like to touch on here, Eric. One it's called "Why It's Still Trump's Race to Lose." You did part 1 and part 2, so basically a series for those of you that would like to check out his work at amgreatness.com or amgreatness.com. If you go at any point of the day, you'll probably see several of Eric's columns up. I tell you this every time he's on. I honestly do not know how he does it. He's also co-host of the Right Take podcast. Eric, I'm not even sure where to start, but I think where I'd like to start is with this Afghanistan withdrawal, and then I want to touch on your kind of go back and forth, if you will, and touch on your column, because I think some of the things that we've witnessed, especially with this Afghanistan, I said withdrawal, I should call it surrender, 3-year anniversary. I think if we look at what President Trump was able to do on Monday, as opposed to what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Tim Walz all did in sending a letter, I think it speaks kind of to your column and why it's still Trump's race to lose. I think overall, Trump has an advantage. Kamala Harris in this vague campaign that she's trying to run, stealing conservative ideas. In the long run, I don't believe it'll pan out as long as Trump does a great job in framing her. And I think I was a little disappointed at first, but I think they finally turned the curve. So give me your take on that real quick. And then I want to go into this Afghanistan debacle, Tulsi Gabbard endorsing him, and talk about your column as well.
Well, I think 100% you're right that President Trump has been really good at controlling the narrative the entire time. You know, as soon as she usurped Biden and became the new nominee, of course, there was going to be all the noise from the media. As Steve Bannon would say, it's just noise. It's just media hype. That's all it is. He very quickly attacked her for, among other things, shape-shifting her racial identity. You know, he called out how she previously used to identify as Indian and then suddenly started identifying as black when it was politically convenient to do so. And of course, the media clutched their pearls. They were like, oh, that's so offensive. That's so racist. How could he say that? But at the end of the day, they were responding to him. He was controlling the narrative. Similarly, you then saw, of course, the attacks. Funny enough, you mentioned the Afghanistan withdrawal, as if veterans didn't need another reason to dislike the Democratic ticket right now. Because, of course, Tim Walz with his stolen valor scandal. And this was not just some, this is from a far-right source. This is something we can easily suppress. Multiple members of Walz's former unit called him out, including his former commanding officer and his chaplain. The military chaplain called him, quote, a coward. When your chaplain calls you a coward, you must have really messed up. So between that and now, as you point out, their complete indifference to the 3-year withdrawal, the 3-year anniversary of the disaster in Afghanistan, the bombing at Abbey Gate that killed 13 service members. Biden was off vacationing on a beach. That photo everyone was sharing around of him passed out on a beach on an umbrella, while President Trump is at Arlington Cemetery early in the morning of that day, laying a wreath with family members of the victims as well as survivors, the wounded who were in wheelchairs and whatnot. It really just goes to show which of the two candidates is more committed to America's veterans and restoring America's military. President Trump said that when he spoke to the National Guard conference in Detroit, where, as you mentioned, former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard endorsed him. He vowed to clean out the corruption, all the remaining generals who were involved with the Afghanistan withdrawal. He would remove these diversity mandates from the military. he is clearly the pro-military ticket, especially with J.D. Vance, the Marine, as his vice president. It's all they could have asked for everything they could need to paint the Democrats as the anti-military ticket.
Eric, I got to tell you, I was listening to, I can't even recall whom this morning on radio, but one of the talking heads, and I just had a few minutes to listen, and he happened to have on a veteran. I can't recall, I can't even recall whom. It was kind of a fog this morning, to be honest. But he was a veteran serving in Congress, and he was livid about the possibility of Tim Walz becoming vice president of the United States for the issue of stolen valor. And a lot of people have said, and I want to speak to this because there are a lot of people that have said, listen, if you haven't served in the military, then this is perhaps something that you shouldn't be talking about. Or I totally disagree with that. I mean, we're allowed as civilians to have heroes, and I don't want somebody lying to me about that. I mean, I really feel like some people go into the military and totally take advantage of the situation. Some people go in and they're good soldiers, men and women. Some people go into the military and they come out heroes. And I don't believe that Tim Walz fits the bill in any one of those. So you can send a hate mail to Eric Lindrum, but no, just kidding. But really, that is the way that I feel. But when this military person put it into perspective in a way that I certainly could not, and he said, I would be, basically damned if I'm going to. Actually, he said, there's no one that I know that would be willing to serve under this guy. No, I mean, not a one person. If you think military recruitment is low now, we're getting more stories, more reports of military recruitment just falling off the cliff. So much so that the U.S. Navy has to set some ships to the side. He said, you ain't seen nothing yet. Nobody's going to want to serve under this guy, a guy that's in charge, that's guilty of stolen valor.
Exactly, yeah. And as you said, the idea, some people may say, oh, if you're a civilian, if you never served in the military, you can't comment. I would just refer to an old saying where people would say, you don't have to be a chef to know when the food sucks, all right? I may not have served in the military, but I can still comment on these things. And again, we don't even need to worry about that because we have someone like J.D. Vance who did serve, who was able to call this out and say,
yes,
hey, I'm a Marine. I went and I served in the Middle East, and JD can say, he didn't lie about his about his combat experience. He went and served, and he's always been perfectly honest about what exactly he did when he was over there. And you can just tell, too, I love it. JD Vance has been such a great attack dog on the campaign trail, especially since Walz was picked. You can tell that JD is itching to debate Walz in the VP debate. He is ready to just go to the mat with this guy. And Walz, for all of his bluster, for all of his yelling and his vulgarity on the campaign trail, I get the sense that this guy is all bark, no bite, and he has no idea what he is in for when he debates J.D. Vance.
I tend to agree with you for this reason, because leftists are never challenged. They're not challenged by the mainstream media on their viewpoints, so they're allowed to get away with murder. And honestly, I know on the debate stage, obviously, you have a biased media that's in the tank for Harris and Walz. But I do think that if J.D. Vance and I think he can do it, if he can corner Walz, I think it'll be huge. Obviously, the decision for presidency will be made based upon Trump and Harris. But I do believe that you're right. I think J.D. Vance, at first, I was not impressed with him. His first week or so out, I've become increasingly impressed with him. And I think he does an amazing job, particularly in front of the mainstream media, and getting that narrative out. There is a video clip that I'd like to play. I'm not sure if we have enough time to play it. But Gabe, I'd like to play video clip number 1 just to remind the viewing audience of what it looked like, the third anniversary of the 13 American service members that were killed at Abbey Gate as a result of the Biden-Kamala Harris policies. If we could roll clip number 1, Gabe, I'd appreciate it. Okay. All right. So we'll have to save that for the next segment. I just want to give people the comparison of President Trump and then Vice President Kamala Harris basically taking credit for the disaster that occurred at Abbey Gate. So we'll share that with you for the next segment. We have about a minute left in this segment. Eric, why don't we do this? Why don't we just briefly talk about what your columns are about, why it's still Trump's race to lose. If you can just give us a tease before the break, and then we'll go into it in the next block here.
Basically, both of my columns are all about taking a look at the fundamentals of the race, not the very, very flimsy, trendy things like polls or even betting odds, which basically are just as flimsy as the polls. They mostly just follow the polls. I'm all about looking at the electoral math, that map, the path to 270. I'm about looking at, yes, the impact of third-party candidates not named Robert Kennedy Jr. He dropped out, but he was not the only third-party candidate. There are others who are going to have an impact on this race as well. And those all bode, the fundamentals of third-party candidates bode horribly for the Harris-Walz ticket in November.
That is very interesting. And you're right. Not a lot of talk about, Cornel West. Not a lot of talk about Jill Stein, but Jill Stein is still a thorn in the side of the Democrat Party. There's no doubt about it. And RFK Jr., I'm not as convinced as many that he's going to have this huge impact that some of the polling seems to suggest right now. I hope that I'm wrong, but I actually do think he'll have an impact in another way, in which, in at a later date, closer to the election, that I do think will benefit Trump. So anyway, we'll talk about that on the other side. You're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. We'll be right back. Hey, Carl Jackson here for Wealth Protection Research. With the volatility from this election and our national debt just breaking $35 trillion for the first time ever, there has never been a better time than now to consider physical gold or silver as a way to protect your savings. I'm concerned that if this election goes sideways, things are going to get even worse. The good news is there is something you can do now ahead of whatever future chaos might be coming. Wealth Protection Research has found a gold partner in Sasco Gold that specializes in helping everyday Americans protect their retirement accounts like 401ks, IRAs, or TSPs using a loophole that allows them to convert their money into physical gold or silver tax and penalty free. Text the word truth to 76626 to learn more. That's right. You can break free from your captive retirement account and enjoy the peace of mind knowing your retirement savings is now stored in physical gold and silver that you control. If you're interested in learning the truth about how you can protect your retirement with gold and silver, you can get a free gold investment kit that explains it all from Saxo Gold just by texting truth to 76626. Drew from Sasco is standing by waiting to help my listeners. Just text the word truth to 76626. Tell Drew that Carl sent you. For your free gold investment kit, text the word truth to 76626 and do it now. All right, welcome back to the program. My name is Carl Jackson, and again, I am joined by my guest, Eric Lindrum. He is with Am Greatness, a columnist there. He does a great job writing there, so check out his columns at AM Greatness or amgreatness.com. Also, Eric, he's the co-host of the Right Take podcast. Tell people quickly where they can find you online.
As you said, Carl, they can find my writings at amgreatness.com and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at The Right Take Pod. The Right Take Pod.
Okay, so before we went to the break, I just want to wrap up talking about this Afghanistan withdrawal. Of course, 13 service members that were killed as a result of the Biden-Harris surrender. The Taliban secured billions of dollars worth of our equipment. Just recently had a parade showing off that equipment that Biden and Harris left behind for the Taliban. Just an absolute sad feat. Biden has never, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, has never contacted the family members of those fallen soldiers. President Trump, of course, appeared at National Arlington Cemetery to lay the wreath. And I just want to give you an example of the difference between what leadership looks like and what it does not. Here's video clip number 2. It's the 3rd anniversary, again, of the 13 American service members that died during the surrender, the Biden-Harris surrender in Afghanistan. Let's go ahead and roll it. Video clip number 1, por favor, Gabe.
Present! Out! Order!
Eric, I wanted you to see that, and I want those in the viewing audience to see that, because this is a very very important time in history. This is when Joe Biden's polls started to crater. The media were doing their best to guard this guy and say he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. We all know he had dementia then too, but they were trying to say how great his policies were: Inflation Reduction Act, Green New Deal, all that kind of stuff, basically, that they were passing in the name of the Inflation Reduction Act. I want to juxtapose that video to what we're getting ready to watch now, and then I want to get your take on it. Video clip number 2. This is Kamala Harris, who apparently is ready to go on day one if she's elected president, despite the fact that she was here in, what was this, July or August of 2021, talking about she was the last person in the room when it came to the disastrous surrender in Afghanistan. Video clip number 2, please, Gabe.
You just made a really big decision. Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do. And I'm going to add to that. This is a president who has an extraordinary amount of courage.
Eric, I'm going to let you take it. I'm so mad I can't even respond, so I'm just going to let you take it, man.
I mean,
get your response.
Yeah, as you point out, Carl, that was the beginning of the end for Biden. Up to that point in 2021, the media said, oh, he's so great, the adults are back in the room, oh, everything's fine, he's handling COVID well. And then along came the biggest national embarrassment in modern history, as President Trump says correctly, and his polls cratered, and they couldn't cover for him. He was receiving bipartisan criticism, international criticism. It was one of the biggest failures in the history of American foreign policy, and he couldn't run from it. And he never really recovered. The polls just continued going down from ever since then. And for Kamala Harris to run, and anytime she says, I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y, she's already in power. She's the vice president, and for all intents and purposes, she's the acting president right now, because Biden, again, is passed out on a beach in Delaware somewhere. So for her to act like she is going to suddenly be able to do different things, we're going to do something, we're going to change things and make big new changes, it just shows how arrogant she is, that she really thinks she can just lie to the American people, pull the wool over their eyes, and act like she's somehow not the incumbent, that she is somehow the change candidate. Are you kidding me? It's an insult to the American people, and yes, it is an insult to America's troops, and especially those who died, and their families, and those who survived as well.
Eric, you just touched on a point I'd like to hear the Trump campaign hone in on and do a little better job of targeting, and that is simply not just that she's been in office since January of 2021, but essentially right now, if people don't enjoy what they're experiencing as far as the economy is concerned, as far as inflation and gas prices and food prices and what we see happening in the Middle East, they can blame Kamala Harris for it, because she's the only one in the White House that is coherent. Joe Biden certainly isn't. So she's the acting president as far as I'm concerned. What do you think about Trump and J.D. Vance drilling down on that point? I think that would be effective.
I mean, absolutely. Yeah, they can and should, and I think they are for the most part, run as the ticket of change. We are the change agents, right? They're the ones in power, and they've either done, at best case scenario, they've done nothing with the power. Worst case scenario, they've made everything worse, from all the disastrous wars and the losses overseas, to the disastrous economy, to the mass migration, the horrific border crisis and all that's ensued from that, to transgenderism running loose and DEI and everything else. Trump and Vance is the change agent ticket. They are the ticket of change that is going to reverse everything over the last few years. That for all that, again, the media ran with, oh, the adults are back in charge, we need serious people back in charge. This is what serious people being in charge looks like. I'm not sure if I like that very much, Carl, and I think a lot of the American people don't like it much either. And they will see through a lot of the media's lies, I think, as they already have, especially since, Elon purchased Twitter and made it X, and now it is more free speech than ever before. I think a lot of people are going to see the truth. And if nothing else, all they need to do is look at their own bank account, look at their receipt from the grocery store, look at their receipt at the gas station, and see how much worse it is after 4 years of quote unquote, the adults being back in charge.
No doubt about it. Let me get your take on this. Tulsi Gabbard obviously comes out and endorses Trump. She endorsed him before when he was running against Biden. She endorses him now running against Kamala Harris. And listen, again, I'm not a big fan of Tulsi Gabbard's policies, but I love Tulsi Gabbard's courage. And I do think that this endorsement, along with the RFK Jr. endorsement, and I'd like to get into that with you a little later, more deeply with RFK Jr., especially as it relates to your columns. But this Tulsi Gabbard the endorsement, what impact do you think it may or may not have on the race going forward?
I think the fact that it comes after the RFK endorsement, as you said, shows that, okay, RFK is not just a one and done thing. There is a trend now. Kennedy himself promised it, and we're already seeing it now with former Congresswoman Gabbard, that more prominent former Democrats are going to follow suit and endorse President Trump. RFK did, Tulsi did, and those as well earned Trump the support and praise of, among other people, of all people, Jimmy Dore, a former Young Turks guy, unapologetically praised the Kennedy endorsement of Trump and now says he is more in favor of the Trump ticket than the Harris-Walz ticket. And especially, too, real quick with the Tulsi thing, is not just that she has endorsed Trump and she's campaigning with him, she is helping him with debate prep as the stand-in for Kamala Harris. There's nobody alive on this planet today who knows more what it's like to debate Kamala Harris and to defeat Kamala Harris on the debate stage than Tulsi Gabbard. So that absolutely has to be terrifying the Kamala camp right now.
Yeah, speaking of the debate, we just have 50 seconds left in this. The news broke that Trump essentially is going to get what he wants, and that's for the most part, and that is the same style of debate that he had with Joe Biden. I think this is very beneficial for Trump. I think the only way Kamala Harris was going to be able to walk away from that debate feeling somewhat unscathed was if she was going to be able to run ads like she did with Vice Pence. Just, can I talk? Let me talk. Let me, that kind of stuff. 20 seconds to respond.
Absolutely. We saw that, again, we were told, being able to mute the mics when they're not speaking is going to hurt Trump. That only ended up benefiting Trump and hurting Biden last time around. And I think it will work the same this time around.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I think she would be a disaster if she has to answer for her policies. We'll be back with more. Carl, this is the Carl Jackson Show. You've asked and MyPillow listen. They're finally bringing you the most requested offer ever. Right now, you can get the queen size premium MyPillow for only $19.98. MyPillow is made with the patented adjustable feel. It adjusts to your exact individual needs, regardless of your sleep position. And guys, I can tell you, I have them stashed. I'm not going to lie to you. All over the house in every single room. I will fall asleep on the couch. I could fall asleep in a chair. I'm not gonna lie, because my body just works weird. Anyway. And I had a crick in my neck because I didn't sleep with my pillow. The next night I made sure that I did, and I felt absolutely fine. It helps keep your neck aligned, and it holds its shape all night long, so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get their 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets for only $25. The brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98. And their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-858-0263. Use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. I don't spell it like the Marxists, to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow. That's only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay. Order today. Use promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, at checkout. All right, Carl Jackson here for Priority Gold. Economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and your 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. In times like this, Proverbs 21:20 reminds us to preserve what we built. Right now, that wisdom points us towards gold. If you haven't had your eye on gold, time to make it a priority. My name is Carl Jackson, and I'm urging you to call my friends at Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. Call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit PriorityGold.com/golden for a free gold info guide. Plus, see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Call 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist or visit PriorityGold.com/golden to learn more. That's 1-800-405-GOLD. Guys, until next time, do not grow weary doing good, and God bless you.